Being the king of the NBA isn't just about claiming the throne. It's about defending it against every challenger who dares to approach. For Larry Bird, this wasn't just a role. It was the reality he faced every single night. His reign wasn't simply about his incredible talent. It was about the respect he commanded from players, coaches, and fans. I'd rather guard Michael Jordan than Larry Bird, because you have to think about every move when you play against him, said a contemporary player. Bird's basketball IQ set him apart, making him one of the most formidable opponents in NBA history. In 1986, Bird was at the peak of his powers. He had just won his third consecutive MVP award, led the Boston Celtics to another championship, and earned Finals MVP honors for the second time in his career. The Celtics had built a dynasty around his leadership and skill, and Bird's performances on the court were nothing short of legendary. "It's a great honor to receive this award for the third time," Bird said upon receiving his third MVP trophy. But even as Bird basked in the glory of his accomplishments, a new star was rising in the league. Michael Jordan, young and electrifying, had entered the NBA and was making waves. While Bird had been the undisputed king of the league for years, Jordan's arrival introduced a new challenger to his throne. Their eventual rivalry would come to define an era. But in 1986, Bird still stood firmly atop the NBA hierarchy. Larry Bird's journey to NBA superstardom began in the small town of French Lick, Indiana, where he honed his craft far from the spotlight. His talent was evident early, but it was his relentless work ethic and deep understanding of the game that set him apart. After a standout college career at Indiana State University, where he carried his team to the NCAA championship game, Bird entered the NBA as the most highly anticipated prospect of his era. In 1979, Bird signed with the Boston Celtics, becoming the highest-paid rookie in NBA history at the time, with a $650,000 per year contract. The Celtics had been struggling before Bird's arrival, but everything changed as soon as he stepped onto the court. In his rookie season, Bird transformed the Celtics into a 61-win team, leading them to the playoffs and finishing fourth in MVP voting. His impact was immediate, and it was clear that the league had gained a generational talent. Over the next few years, Bird's influence on the Celtics grew even stronger. By 1981, he had led the team to an NBA championship, their first since the Bill Russell era. In the following seasons, Bird continued to dominate, finishing as the MVP runner-up 3 times in a row and establishing himself as one of the league's most consistent and versatile players. His averages during this period, 22.6 points, 10.9 rebounds, and 5.7 assists per game, showcased his all-around excellence. Bird's arrival in Boston coincided with the resurgence of the Celtics as a perennial contender. Alongside legendary teammates like Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Dennis Johnson, Bird helped build a dynasty that dominated the NBA throughout the 1980s. The Celtics' core, built around Bird's versatility, was a nightmare for opposing teams. They could score in the post, stretch the floor, and lock down on defense, making them one of the most well-rounded teams in NBA history. What set Bird apart wasn't just his individual brilliance, but his ability to make those around him better. His court vision and passing ability were unparalleled for a forward, allowing him to orchestrate the Celtics' offense like a point guard. Bird's leadership extended beyond the stat sheet. He was a relentless competitor who demanded excellence from himself and his teammates. This intensity fueled the Celtics' success and established Bird as the heart and soul of the team. Between 1983 and 1986, Bird reached the peak of his career. He won 3 consecutive MVP awards, a feat matched by only a select few in NBA history. His performances during this period were nothing short of historic. Bird averaged 26.2 points, 10.1 rebounds, and 6.7 assists per game, numbers that highlighted his versatility and dominance. More importantly, he led the Celtics to 2 NBA championships during this span, cementing his status as one of the greatest players of all time. As Bird cemented his legacy in the mid-1980s, a new star began to emerge. Michael Jordan entered the NBA in 1984, and from the moment he stepped onto the court, it was clear he was a once-in-a-generation talent. Jordan's athleticism, scoring ability, and charisma captivated fans, and he quickly became one of the most exciting players in the league. By 1986, he was already making headlines as a prolific scorer, averaging an astonishing 37 points per game. Despite Jordan's individual brilliance, the Chicago Bulls were still building their roster around him, and they struggled to compete with established teams like the Celtics. In the 1986 playoffs, the Bulls faced the Celtics in a first-round matchup that would become legendary. Jordan delivered one of the greatest performances in NBA history, scoring 63 points in Game 2. Bird, however, was quick to acknowledge Jordan's greatness, famously saying, "That was God disguised as Michael Jordan." Despite Jordan's heroics, the Celtics swept the series, underscoring the gap between the two teams at the time. One of the most iconic regular season games between the Celtics and Bulls occurred on March 27, 1987. The Celtics, with a 51-19 record, faced the Bulls, who were 35-35. Both teams were playing the second game of a back-to-back, adding an element of fatigue to the matchup. Bird entered the game in peak form, averaging 28 points, 9 rebounds, and nearly 8 assists per game, while Jordan was in the midst of his legendary 37 points per game season. The Celtics were missing Dennis Johnson, forcing Jerry Sichting into the starting lineup. Despite this, Bird wasted no time asserting his dominance. From the opening tip, he used his off-ball movement, fakes, and mid-range shooting to exploit the Bulls' defense. Bird scored 20 points in the first quarter alone, setting the tone for what would become one of his greatest performances. Jordan, meanwhile, faced intense defensive pressure from the Celtics. Every time he drove to the basket, he was met by multiple defenders, forcing him to adjust his game. Despite this, Jordan's athleticism and scoring ability kept the Bulls competitive. By halftime, Bird had already racked up 33 points, yet the Bulls trailed by only 3 points, thanks to Jordan's 16 first-half points. In the second half, Bird shifted his focus to facilitating for his teammates. His pinpoint passing created easy scoring opportunities for players like Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. On defense, Bird's hustle and intelligence helped the Celtics limit the Bulls to just 22 points in the third quarter. In the final period, Bird returned to his scoring ways, hitting clutch shots to seal the victory for Boston. Bird finished the game with 41 points, including 33 in the first half, in a performance that showcased his ability to dominate in every aspect of the game. The Celtics' victory further solidified their dominance over the Bulls during this era. Larry Bird's impact on basketball extends far beyond his individual achievements. He was a pioneer who redefined what it meant to be a forward in the NBA. Bird's ability to stretch the floor with his three-point shooting and facilitate as a playmaker paved the way for modern stars like Dirk Nowitzki, who combined size, skill, and versatility in their games. Bird's rivalry with Michael Jordan is one of the most storied in NBA history. While Jordan would eventually ascend to become the face of the league, Bird remained a benchmark for greatness. Their battles on the court were a clash of styles, with Bird's cerebral approach contrasting with Jordan's explosive athleticism. Yet both players shared an unrelenting drive to win, which fueled their mutual respect. Unfortunately, Bird's career was cut short by injuries. Chronic back problems and a severe heel injury forced him to retire earlier than expected, robbing the NBA of several more years of his brilliance. Despite this, Bird's legacy remains secure. With 3 championships, 3 MVP awards, and 2 Finals MVPs, he is widely regarded as one of the greatest players in basketball history. Between 1983 and 1986, Larry Bird was the undisputed king of basketball. His skill, intelligence, and competitive spirit made him a force unlike any other in the sport. While his battles with Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and other legends defined an era, Bird's true greatness lay in his ability to elevate the game itself. He wasn't just a player, he was an icon who changed basketball forever. Bird's legacy will endure as a testament to what it means to be a true champion. Thank you all for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling basketball stories. See you in the next video.